So today I'm going to be showing you how to replace a motor assembly on a power pole with C-Monster operating system. So this is how you're going to get the motor in from the factory when we ship it to you. The first thing you're going to want to do is turn the power off to the power pole pumps and then disconnect your power and ground wire. You're going to need to disconnect that because the new one will have that with it. So once your power and ground is disconnected, you can go ahead and remove these 4 screws on top of the pump to access the motor bolts. I've pre-loosened these a little bit just to go ahead and save us some time here. Lift the cap off the motor assembly and pull your ribbon wire out of the ribbon wire port. Set this aside, but be sure not to drop any of these screws. You'll need them later. Notice there's 2 screws on top of the motor. You're going to want to loosen these 2 screws just enough to remove the motor assembly off of the pump housing. You kind of feel these free spin once they're loose. At this point, the motor should be able to come off of the pump housing. Go ahead and set it aside. Grab your new motor assembly. Remove these 4 screws. Pull your cap off. You notice there's a little bit of hardware in here. Just an extra O-ring, some butt connectors in case you want to cut that power and ground rather than removing the ring terminals, and also some new ring terminals to install on these ends. You notice there's a shaft on the bottom of this pump. This shaft needs to be lined up with the corresponding coupler slot in the pump housing. So there's 2 retaining nuts. Go ahead and remove those retaining nuts. Notice the 2 O-rings here. These need to be in place. If they're not, give us a call so we can get you some new ones, but they should be in place. This shaft here needs to align with the slot in the pump housing. So you can kind of turn this shaft by hand just to make sure that it's on the same alignment. It should drop in place. Once it drops in place, you can go ahead and tighten these 2 screws down. Now that the motor is attached to the pump housing, we just need to remove this circuit board from our previous motor assembly. So to do so, we'll go ahead and remove the power and ground, lift the board out of the housing, remove your 3 motor wires, and remove the board. Start by hooking your 3 motor wires up. These motor wires, you notice they have little yellow tags on them. The little yellow tags have letters. Those letters have corresponding letters on the circuit board. So if somehow you mix them up or something like that, just go ahead and verify that you're hooking it to the correct port. So this one is a W, goes to the bottom. V, and U. Slide your board back into place. And then hook your power and your ground wires up. At this point, we want to be sure our antenna is up top. It's not down in the bottom. It's not pinched, kinked, anything like that. Could cause reception issues. Once that's all in place, verify your O-ring is still intact. If the O-ring is still intact and in place, we can go ahead and install our cap back onto the pump. Notice on the ribbon wire, there's 2 sides to it. There is a black side and a clear side. The black side needs to be facing up. Insert that into the ribbon wire port and you'll feel it kind of click into place. and it's a little bit firm. It's right next to this mini USB port. Don't get them confused. Put your cap back on. Tighten your 4 screws. And at this point, we're going to need to hook our power and ground up. So if you remove the ring terminals, you'll crimp your ring terminals on. Those are heat shrink terminals, so you can go ahead and heat shrink them, connect them to your battery, and then you're ready to turn the system back on and use it like you were before.